Stupid Garbage Podcast.
Oh, I like that.
Charge it when you're sleeping.
I know, but then I have to bend down to the ground to plug my phone in, and I don't like to bend off the bed.
So plug it in before you get into bed.
But I like to be on my phone before bed because it helps me to fall asleep.
It doesn't help you fall asleep. It helps you stare at Instagram for 2 hours, and then you complain that you can't sleep.
No.
I didn't get to sleep until 4 a.m. last night. It's like, yeah, because you got into bed at 2, and then we're laughing at stupid TikTok videos.
No.
For 2 hours.
I don't watch TikTok, first of all.
You watch TikTok videos on Instagram.
Never.
Whatever.
Almost never.
Just, we have chargers in the bed. In the bedroom, we have chargers with longer cables.
Well, I think the thing...
You have a charger that's plugged into your computer that you sit at all day.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why your phone is never... There's a charger in your car.
Yeah.
You're never more than 5 feet away from an iPhone charger.
Well, the thing is, the only charger in the house that's not in the bedroom is at my computer. But to your point, I'm always on my computer, so there's no reason that I wouldn't charge my phone literally all day while I'm in the kitchen.
Where you belong.
Rude.
Yeah.
Well, the kitchen's where the lizard is, so I would agree it is where I belong.
It's where the lizard is, God knows why. So, what did we do yesterday, Jess?
We watched Bond.
We watched James Bond. After Jessica's stellar impression of James Bond with ED. We decided to watch James Bond, and we picked Dr. No, the first in the entire... What's up, buddy? What you doing? Okay.
Playing with my stomach.
No, I see you plucking hairs off your... It's fine. I'm just hanging out.
I'm not plucking, I'm just stroking the hairs.
All right. Playing the banjo on your happy trail. I don't...
Most women have happy trails. It's not just me.
No one said it was just
that has hair on their stomach. It's
you have quite a lot.
Woman thing.
You have more than the average man, I would say.
This woman this girl when I was at sleepaway camp came up to me and she was like, I didn't shave my bikini area, I'm so insecure about it, and I have all this hair on my stomach. And then she looks at me and she goes, oh, so do you, and you didn't even shave it at all. I was like, yeah. But I remember I was just that was the day that I became embarrassed about my happy trail.
In all fairness, you were 22 and the rest of them were 11.
No.
So that was on you. I don't know why they even still let you bunk with those kids.
No.
But, well, that's
no.
a very
I would love to. When I was 22, I applied to be a counselor at the camp, but they're so weird and exclusive about it.
They're so weird. They said no.
They were you're not allowed to watch the children the way that you do.
You're gross.
But
an asshole.
Yeah. I think
if you didn't pay us a lot of money, we wouldn't have let you come.
Yeah, I think that was the issue where the counselors, the head woman of the camp knew me as a troublemaker. Yeah. But honestly though, I was 12. I started going to that camp when I was 10 years old, and this woman was you're a bad seed. It's
you're
okay.
Telling me you're no longer a bad seed.
No, I am, but I'm not in the same way. I don't think I'd go.
You're a bad seed in much worse, more. You were probably I didn't know you when you were 12, but you were probably mischievous and rambunctious, and now you're evil.
That's really sweet of you to say.
The malcontent that you kick up is 1,000 times more severe.
Yeah,
you would, murder children.
I think the issue.
It's as though they made a good decision by not.
Yeah, but honestly though, they didn't even account for the fact that maybe I had matured.
But you didn't, so it's irrelevant.
But I could have.
But you didn't. You don't really get to make arguments of principle when in reality you're wrong.
Although I think it's in order to be a counselor, there are children people. And I think a big thing about being a kid person is that you need to not have any sort of you're never embarrassed.
You need to not hate kids.
Well, sure, that's
you hate kids.
Prime issue number one. But I feel also the counselors it's always I'm not afraid to make myself look stupid so I can amuse the children, and it's I don't have that. I have a weird thing where I am never embarrassed because I don't give a shit what people think or whatever. Or, I like to do weird shit, but also if you were when I talk to kids, I feel embarrassed.
There are a lot of things that make a person a good teacher, camp counselor, whatever, child, babysitter, a supervisor of children. You have none of those things.
Well, I can babysit. I think the kids that babysat me did like me, and I think I did do a good job.
You.
Wait, sorry. The kids that I babysat did like me, and I did keep them alive, and I did, feed them, made sure they bathed, made sure they went to bed. I did think that I did a good job, and I did, like those kids.
My point is that there are a lot of temperament
Sure.
dissimilarities between you and the ideal camp counselor.
I think it's like also like, yeah, the rebellion where it's like if I don't like an activity, I'm like, ew, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And they're like, no.
There are a lot of reasons why they should not have hired you. They did not hire you. They made a good decision. They made a good call. And I think you know that. And again,
Yeah.
Jessica, you don't get to make an argument. They like saying like every American has a right to have guns. Why won't you give me a gun? And you're like, well, you just told me you were gonna shoot up a elementary school. It's like, yes, but don't I get like not everyone's a school shooter? It's like, yeah, but you are. Right, but I want a gun because you don't know that I am. It's like, well, no, but we do know you are. You don't get to make these principled arguments if you are one of the people who would be violating those
also, like, the
principles.
motivation to go to this camp is, like, purely so that I can go to the camp. It's not because I, like, want children to have a good time. It's because I want to have a good time. Dear reader...
They made several wonderful decisions on
Dear reader, just, like, a little backstory. When I was 9 years old, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And then when I was 10 years old, my mom found this camp for people specifically with people
with Down syndrome.
Found a camp specifically for people with IBD, which is irritable bowel disease, which includes both Crohn's disease and colitis. Anyway, so I went to that camp from the age of like 10 to like 16 or 17. And then
it was a cult in the woods. It had like 14 kids.
But like I still speak with a lot of those kids. One of the people that I met at camp like came to my college, and we continued to be friends like through all of college, and like they have reunions every year. Like, it's a big part of my life. And then they just fucking ripped it away from me when I turned 17. They're like, oh, you're too old now.
Yeah, just you became an adult. You became too old for summer camp.
But then they let, like, a bunch of the kids, like, one of my close friends is a counselor there, and he gets to go back. And then they have, like, this weird cult now where they post on Instagram all the time.
I always had that weird cult, Jessica. You were just part of it, so it didn't seem like a weird cult.
Yeah.
Now that you're on the outside looking in, you go, oh, this is weird.
But they only let, like, a select few people in. But it's still, like, they let, like, 30... people in to be counselors or whatever the fuck. I don't know how many.
30. There weren't even 30 kids. There were definitely not 30 counselors. There were like 4. It is true.
No,
it is true.
There were hundreds of kids.
No.
Yes. Anyway.
I have heard many times from other people, including I met a lot of the people when I met these people. I've been to these reunions. From your mother, from people who I have met who went to this camp, from like pictures that you have of, end of summer, whatever. I know for a fact that you didn't have hundreds of kids at this camp.
There were a lot of kids.
Oh my God.
Anyway. So, yeah, they let a bunch of people be counselors, and I was not allowed to be, and it really hurt my heart. And,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Man, my family, like, we celebrated, the way my dad's birthday, my parents' anniversary, like, we have, like, this big summer celebration at, like, a really fancy restaurant every year, and that was, like, literally the day I got back from camp.
Sure.
And I remember, like, I was just sitting at that fancy restaurant crying, and my parents were like, hey, like, we're trying to have a good time, like, it's your grandma's birthday, like, please be cool. And I was just like...
Grandma's birthday's in June.
I know, but we celebrate it in that big summer bash along... Like, we do a combined birthday. You know this.
I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, so I was just sitting at this, like, really fancy restaurant with, like, all of this amazing, beautiful food in front of me. And it's like, my eyes were just, like, deep, deep red. And I was just sitting there, like, staring into the abyss of depression. Oh, what a bad day.
Maybe they should have... Well... I don't know, left you at home? Like, you didn't start crying when you got to the restaurant, right?
No, but they didn't know that, like, I was that upset about it and I didn't know until, like, they literally picked me up, and I said, bye, guys, I guess this is it forever, and then, like, it hit me when I got home, and then we were already on the way to the restaurant.
Okay, well, then this was your parents'
Like, we went straight from camp to the restaurant.
Okay, well, then that's not your fault. This was...
I didn't say it was my fault.
No, I know.
It just was unfortunate. And, like,
I'm supporting you.
If my parents had left me home alone, I would have been even more sad. Like, I think it was good.
No. I'm saying planning, assuming that they knew this was like your last year at this camp. You spent 8 years at, and I don't know.
Yeah.
In theory, maybe never going to go back to or see these people again. They shouldn't have planned to do this dinner or whatever lunch an hour after picking you up.
Sure.
That would be like planning to do something like 3 hours after you graduated from high school or something.
It was
also entirely
bold.
irrelevant to you graduating high school. It's like, we're going to go celebrate, your dad got a promotion, we're going to go celebrate. I know that you are still wearing your cap and gown, but come on, like, whatever you're dealing with, not right now.
Yeah.
That was a bad call. They mistimed that.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, my graduation, I was like, good fucking
Yeah, you didn't give a shit, but I'm just saying.
But for camp, yeah, I think they
You're still wearing your wedding dress? Come on. That's
Yeah.
good. It's mom's
We have
53rd birthday
places
on
to be.
Saturday, so we're doing it today.
Yeah.
So we can knock both of these out at once.
Yeah.
No, man, that was
a
bit of a misstep.
rough day.
And they should have, frankly, picking you up, and maybe if they didn't calculate for that, but then they picked you up and saw you having not great time, they should have rescheduled or dropped you off at home or something. Like, they shouldn't have just been like, well, we're going to save 8 minutes by just going straight to the restaurant instead of swinging by home.
Yeah.
Let's not, let's beat the traffic. It's like, no, man, you made a bad decision, now you're doubling down on it.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it any better.
Ugh. My childhood was just, like,
good money
ripped
after bad.
away from me all at once. It felt terrible.
Well,
That was a bad time.
coming of age, etc., etc. You
Yeah.
should make a movie about it.
That
and
also
you
probably-
will rail against it. Because
Yes,
you
I hate coming of age stories.
And yet here we are, telling your coming of age story.
Yeah?
Here we are.
Well, anyway.
Hypocrites and Jews, the lot of us. What do you have to say about
I hated James Bond.
James Bond? Right.
It was boring. It was slow. It was very non-action oriented, which I thought was shocking.
Yeah, this one. Well, I think
really slow.
I think this one. First of all, this was made in 1962, so I think the pacing of movies and the expectation of action.
Yes.
Being an action movie now means like, oh, it's 85% action. Like if I don't see Tom Cruise kick
I was about to say Tom Cruise.
3 separate people out of a military plane, then it's not actiony enough.
If
right?
like 5 cars don't blow
Right.
up,
If
like
Chris Hemsworth doesn't shoot lightning at least a half a dozen times, then it's snooze fest.
Yeah.
But I think in the 60s, things were a lot, for a number of reasons, chief among them that they didn't have the technology or the budget in the movies. This movie's budget was $1 million in 62. And I think that was a fairly decent budget. But yeah, okay, but $1 million in 62 is, let's even say it's like $5 million today.
it wouldn't have
Big
added
budget
to their
action
budget.
movies are hundreds of millions of dollars.
It wouldn't have added to their budget to have more fight scenes.
Maybe
Like, I'm not
but
saying
you
that they
can't-
need to, like, demolish a restaurant. Like, I'm saying that they just need to, like, literally hand-to-hand combat costs no money at all.
Well, everything costs money.
Fine.
Another day of shooting costs money. Hiring a stuntman costs money. Having a coordinator costs money.
Sure,
particularly when you're just trying to tell this story as it was written. And again, I
Yeah.
think these were... I haven't ever actually read any of Ian Fleming's Bond novels, but I think they're more like...
closely.
I mean, they're books. You can't really write much action in books. They're espionage, and they're he's a secret agent. And
Okay, but the
intrigue is-
modern James Bond movies are very much action-oriented.
I know. I think once the movies took off, they started realizing, oh, people want to see us blow up a fucking car.
Yeah. For
Whatever.
considering all of that, and again, like, the acting I thought was absolutely horrendous, but I was like, again, maybe that was a sign of the times too.
Acting, if you watch the original Ocean's 11, which was the Rat Pack, Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin, I mean, it was a lot of people, but if you watch the original Ocean's 11, Sinatra's actually a pretty good actor, but apparently, because I think by that point, by the time he made that movie, he was already Sinatra, like he had quite a bit of heat. So he didn't like doing a lot of takes. He would do like 1 or 2 takes. He's like, we're done. I was fine.
That's
I
my
don't care if
dream.
anyone else was good in it. Even if I wasn't good in it, I don't care. Give me $1 million. Let's shoot this in 8 days. So a lot of the acting is because they were doing like first takes, like they didn't do any dress rehearsals or anything.
But why
They didn't do
wouldn't
any read-throughs.
you?
They were fucking
I'd be like, hey,
horrible.
Sinatra, like, you need to stop being a diva.
And he'd say, okay, I'm paying for this movie.
Was he?
Probably. I don't know.
Okay.
Or he could just, even if he
Well-
wasn't, he could say, I'm Frank Sinatra.
I know, but
I'm
I'd be
doing
like-
2 takes or I'm not going to be in the movie.
But then I'd say, like, we don't need you if you're going to
No, you
literally
do.
ruin our movie.
But you do. You would rather have Frank Sinatra in the movie because you want to make money off of it. And having Frank Sinatra in the movie means you're going to make money.
There are plenty of movies that did really well that didn't have, like, A-list huge actors in them.
First of all, not really in like the 60s. Second of all, this is not how you make a movie. Like
Whatever.
you can either acquiesce to the biggest star on the planet at the time, or like you don't tell Brad Pitt, like, Brad, we need to do another few takes if he's like, I'm done. You hope he says okay, but if he says like, no,
I think
we
this
got
is-
it, it's fine. You don't say like, all right, Brad's out of the movie. You say, all
This-
right, we're doing these takes.
Industry is honestly, like, so ridiculous. Like, the fact that people are literally like, oh, yeah, Sinatra will do whatever you say. Like, literally at the cost of making a bad movie, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you let some fucking idiot, entitled asshole
Because
ruin...
they don't care if it's ruining the movie. They want to make money.
I know, but if it ruins the movie, they're going to make less money because it's not going to be a good movie.
No, man, if it's a good movie without Brad Pitt, you're going to make less money.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm sure the people who've been making movies for 100 years know better than you and I, and that's what they do.
I'm saying, though...
They acquiesce to actors.
I'm saying, though, it's as really... Like, actors are shit people.
I'm not disputing
like
that.
they're
but
divas and they make, again, like, you know this, like, I don't understand why we don't have a cap for how much actors can make, because they literally don't deserve it at all.
We can't go down this again. I can't explain this to you again.
You don't need, I'm not asking for you to explain it. That implies that I don't understand it. I understand it. I think it's ridiculous. I understand how capitalism works. I understand that these people make the money, so they go, whatever, it's worth it.
So far, so
I
good.
get it.
Yep.
I'm not confused.
Yep.
I think it's stupid.
Well, then you're a communist, I guess.
That's fine. I feel like it's absolutely ridiculous to be paying these people so much money for not, like, if you pay a director millions of dollars, I'd be like, all right, you created this really cool thing.
But the actor creates it too.
Not.
The actor's in a lot of cases, not always, but the actor is often the reason why the movie makes a lot of money.
Sure. Again, though, I don't think any of these should be making that much money. Like, you're a fucking movie. You need to calm down.
Well, but people... and
I get it. You need to make a ton of money so that you can even make these movies in the first place. I get it, but, like, my God.
Anyway, acting, like, film and TV acting. If you watch shows from 60s, 70s, some of them are actually okay. Like, Leave It to Beaver is fine, and, like, the Andy Griffith Show is fine. But then, once you get out of the 50s into the 60s and 70s, as I think, there were no longer two channels on television. Mm-hmm. Like, there were a lot more opportunities for a lot more people to do a lot more shows and, a lot more movies. There's a lot of terrible lead
really bad.
Man acting. Like, you watch, like, Columbo, or you watch,
Sean
like,
Connery was
MASH.
fine, actually.
Yeah, Connery was fine.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of the... Maybe not so much the lead acting, but, like, the second biggest character in the movie. Like, the love interest, or, like, the guy's sidekick. They were horrible fucking actors.
I would say this movie reflected that very well.
Which is, a lot of movies, for a lot of reasons, don't hold up, and a lot of... Anyway, so...
I get it.
Yeah, so this movie, the acting was... But Connery, do you remember what you said about Sean Connery before we watched this movie?
I say a lot of things about Sean Connery.
You're right. You talk about him 2 or 3 times a day.
I have a lot of opinions about
for
Sean
6 years.
I mean, his accent is absolutely ridiculous.
You said...
And he's a weird looking...
You said, I don't understand why anyone could possibly find him attractive. And I said, have you seen him before he was in Indiana Jones or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or Hunt for Red October, and he was like 70 and bald and old as hell? And you're like, no, but so what? How could he possibly not look like that his entire life? Yeah. And then we watched James Bond, and what was the first thing you said when he came on screen?
So pretty.
You said, oh shit, he's hot. Oh shit.
Wow. He just...
Gorgeous.
He has these like weird lines down his chin.
My impression of you.
Down his like cheek. Kind of.
Yeah.
And I was like, never thought, like, why is that attractive to me? But it was. I was like, he's so pretty. And his eyebrows were crazy in, like, a good way. They were, like, so perfect, but also so large.
You like his jowls?
His jowl. Yeah, like, there was no, it wasn't droopy. There was just, like, it looked like his cheek was cut in half, kind of.
What?
Like, it looked like his cheek was, like, cut in half, almost.
Okay.
Vertically. I don't know why, I'm into it. And his accent didn't exist, really. Like, it came out in certain parts, which, again, furthers my theory that he was asked to stop. Like, he was asked to calm his accent down for this movie.
But I think if that was the case, it wouldn't have popped up as much as it did.
I don't know.
It's shown through pretty frequently.
A little.
Nah.
I didn't find it to be that bad. But, again, like, in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, it is horrendous, and you can barely understand it, and it sounds like a joke.
I think he hams it up.
It's obnoxious. But back in the day, he sounded like a normal man. It was also, like, another thing that I hate about the 50s and 60s is, like, the way that they talk, Mr. Bond. Like, I hate that. It's just, it takes me out of the movie, because it's just, why are you making your voice do that? It's crazy. I don't like it. Sean Connery didn't really do that, but every single other character did that, especially, like, the villain.
Well, it's because it was set in Jamaica. That's just their accent.
No.
Well.
Like, the doctor, or the rock man.
Welcome to our island, Mr. Bond.
That's different. That's okay.
Everything is radioactive, man.
That's how they talk now, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you don't like that.
But I'm saying the rock man, the one that was like, this isn't radioactive. When he was talking, spoiler alert, when he was
doctor,
talking
he
to
wasn't Jamaican, obviously.
Yeah.
He was a doctor.
Spoiler alert, when he was talking to the villain, like that scene, he was like, I don't understand. I will kill the Bond man. He escaped me. It was just really gross. And the villain talked like a normal person.
You and I might have been watching different movies.
It was terrible.
You thought it was very slow. I found this movie I found
You fell asleep
if
towards the end.
taking a 10-minute nap in the middle of it made it go by quite a bit faster.
Oh,
That's what I would recommend. Yeah.
It
But-
was really cute. I just look over and your head starts bobbing down.
I was sleepy.
It was
I started
really cute.
watching this at like 1 a.m.
Yeah, well, you asked me to watch it at like 12:45.
No, man, I asked you to watch it at like 11.
Oh, like 12:15.
No,
it was
man.
12:15, and I said I'm going to eat in 15 minutes. You asked me at 12:15 to watch.
I asked you more than... I don't care. No matter.
No, you didn't.
You have notes.
You
took notes.
We went through most of them.
Oh,
I remember
that's
that.
fast.
The Three Blind Mice introduction.
Yeah.
I hated it. It was like kind of cute how they were like pretending to be blind and then they killed the guy, but I just found it so campy
Just
and
like
unnecessary.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder isn't blind.
You gave me sass. You're like, what's happening? I said, 3 blind mice. And you went, you're a fucking idiot. And then
Yeah.
the song 3 blind mice immediately came
Because
on.
again, it was too stupid. Like it was just, why are they doing that? They didn't need these
You're
characters.
the only one who didn't get it.
Like it was kind of cute how they were like, "Oh, they're blind. Nope, just kidding. We're gonna kill you." But it was just, I don't know. I was like, too much. Okay.
Hashtag ableism.
The shots-
Handy-capable, Jess.
You know,
Just because they're blind
I'm
doesn't mean that
handicapped.
Yeah, no. You make that abundantly clear every time we speak. Just because they're handicapped
You
doesn't
call me your
mean that-
handicapped girlfriend all the time.
You are my handicapped girlfriend.
Yeah.
All the time. Just because they are handicapped doesn't mean that they can't participate in this plot to assassinate this woman or whatever it was.
So, like when the lady in the way beginning, like a woman gets killed and like it broke the shot. Like they shot at her.
Yes, there was a
then
couple of frames taken
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I don't
And
know
then
if that was intentional. Or
It
not.
like
I
the
think it
gun
was.
went off, a couple of frames were taken out, and then the woman falls. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming they had to like stop it and make her fall or some weird shit.
Maybe.
Also like the blood looked really fake, but again, I think this is probably just like the 60s.
The 60s, and this was the first James Bond movie with
just-
$1 million budget.
It wasn't the first movie with blood in it.
No, but you
don't know.
okay.
Whatever.
Alright.
But I thought that so and like the sound of the guns and stuff, again, I don't know if it's just like because it was early. I don't know. A lot of the women were disgustingly whorish.
Yeah,
I didn't like that.
I think it was, they have to work with the camera and sound equipment that they have to make things look. The blood is, no one in the 60s thought blood looked like that, but, you have to make it appear on camera well, and you have to have the audience know what it is, and you have to have them.
I know. And I'm, again, like maybe the industry just hadn't discovered, if you make blood darker, it looks more natural, and this is how you do like maybe...
No, it doesn't look natural on cameras in the 60s and 50s, so I'm telling you.
Okay.
They have to...
So the equipment just needed to get better.
I mean, like, in 62, there weren't even really shows on television in color still.
Okay.
It was like right around there that maybe like 64 shows started being in color. So you have to make them bright. You have to make.
So again, I understand. It just bothered me. Although there were a lot of shots like in the swamps and stuff, like on that island. Like the water looked absolutely gorgeous. Like they did do a lot of the cinematography.
Again, I don't think they did that. You're like, I wonder if they dyed that lagoon blue. No, I don't think so. I think they found a blue lagoon.
Whatever. They did a good job, and they shot it nicely. They could have shot it worse, I guess. And another thing, like all the shadows were really pronounced, and I didn't like that. But again, the equipment, blah blah blah. But I did notice it.
You blah 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 yourself.
Well, because
again, the Jew.
Well, I know
She
you're gonna
talks.
interrupt me.
I'm not saying anything.
But you're gonna be like, Jess, it's the camera equipment. We get it. So I'm trying to avoid you yelling at me.
So just don't make that point to begin with. I don't care.
But
care.
I
Go ahead,
feel
I'm
like
not
it's
saying
necessary.
Then go
I
ahead.
just don't want to deal with your shit.
Cool.
The shadows were really bad. I'm sure that was another camera thing, or maybe again, just like they were just newbies at cinematography. I don't fucking know, but the shadows were distracting. Anyway, yes, as I said, all the women are hoes. James Bond is a huge hoe. I thought that was weird, especially because like back in the day, I feel like it was more unseemly for women to be promiscuous, and yet the women were very promiscuous. Are you mad? Are you checking out?
No, I'm
Okay.
not mad. I just thought you were in the middle of a sentence.
No, okay. But yeah, so I didn't like that, and they were all overly sexualized in their skimpy little outfits, and it just was like, please stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a well, he did pork like 3 women in this movie.
And
but
he like sought them out. Like literally an assistant walks into the room and he goes,
he's like, can I leave?
Yeah!
Through that door?
That was
The
weird.
Guy's like, you mean like after the, sure, I guess.
And then he literally just goes, hey, come to my hotel. It's like, bro,
Yeah.
you're
It worked.
gross.
It worked. I think...
Well, only because she was a villain. Spoiler alert.
Well, I mean, it had already worked on 2 women before that, hadn't it?
Although-
Okay, let me... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of the women, you said the name, one of their names was Pussy Galore.
Not in this movie.
Oh, okay, because I was like, she didn't say her name.
No. The stupid female name, Ian Fleming. I don't know if Ian Fleming made the stupid names or if the movies were making the stupid names, but I think it was Ian Fleming. The stupid one in this one is Honey Ryder. Her entire thing, she was in Jamaica, she would collect seashells and then go to Miami to sell them. It's like, I'm pretty sure they have seashells in Miami too. Like, I don't think you're on the same body of water. You're both in the Caribbean. So,
well, maybe it's because they're exotic. Like, oh, they're from Jamaica.
They're from an island 100 miles away.
Yeah,
that'd be like you saying like, ooh, wow, this came from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Wow, Rhode Island seashell.
Like a Canadian,
like, no, man, it's not even Canadian. It's not even that far. So,
Rhode Island seashell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so not only that, but she's like, yeah, I can sell this one for $50. This one, which is like $250 probably, or like $200 in the 60s. And I mean, if you're like living in Jamaica, that's probably, you can probably sustain yourself for like 6 months off that. But it was funny. James Bond was like, so tell me a little bit about you, you know, like what were you doing before you came to Jamaica or whatever the fuck the stupid inane conversation was. And she's like, well, before here I lived in Germany looking for seashells, and then, you know, I go wherever the seashells tell me. Yes, I've been all around. I've been to Bali, the Philippines, anywhere where there are seashells, really. I'm like, really? Your life, your career is based around getting seashells? And like, this is not a sustainable...
Her dad was a marine...
economic model, particularly...
zoologist or biologist?
Yeah, something like that.
He was a smart man.
And she's like, and he taught me to collect seashells, which I guess is like, all right, you grew up as a woman in the probably 40s or early 50s. I guess that's all they were allowed to do. But still, go at least get a job as a secretary or a nurse.
It was weird because
one of the other 3 jobs you're allowed to do, a school teacher or something.
He asked her if she went to school, which I was like, oh, I didn't know that women were allowed to go to school. But then she was like, no, I read the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
That was her education. She did not go to school.
Yeah, it seems like her formal is in replacement for her formal education, which is why she thinks this is a sustainable business practice. It's because she's uneducated, aggressively uneducated. She said, I bought an encyclopedia set. I started at A, fucking obviously, and I've made my way all the way down to T. It's like, all right, wait a minute. You're telling me instead of like going to school for 12 years, you read 16, 18, whatever volumes of an encyclopedia. Like, those shouldn't take you a year to get through each. Those should take you like 2 weeks maybe to get through. Like, you should be able to get all the way down to T in like 10 months or something. I don't know. Maybe faster if all you do with your time is read encyclopedias and look for seashells.
She's a grown woman. Like, you should
Yeah, she's like in her early 20s.
She's had the time to read these books.
What else? She's catching seashells and not going to school.
Oh my god.
What the fuck else is she doing?
I don't know, Rob.
It's crazy.
I thought that was the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
You read a page a day, you'd get, I mean...
Yep.
You'd be moving faster than she is. So I don't...
Yeah.
So she basically all she said was like, "Oh, I'm aggressively uneducated."
Also, like, even reading an encyclopedia, that's not how people learn.
Yeah,
like,
it's not a great education.
Like,
to begin
if
with,
A is like, oh, like if you're learning about like a marketing term or something, but marketing is M.
Well, no, there are glossaries and you can look. I mean, it's not. Look, it's not. It's not great.
She implied that that's not. I don't know. I'm assuming that's not how she was reading it. If she hadn't like. Because then you wouldn't say I've gotten to the T's. Like, I feel like...
Well, no, you could go back and forth. But
yeah,
even still, that would still be like, oh, I learned about aardvarks, and Ankara is the capital of Turkey, and then I learned about, like, the Andalusian mountains, and then it's like, all right, do you know how to do long division? Like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, like, the encyclopedia
doesn't teach you how to do stuff. It just teaches you facts. It's fine. Don't not read encyclopedias, but it's not a replacement for a formal education.
Sure.
At all.
Sure.
At all.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you even know how to read, really?
It's basically just like reading a dictionary. Like, it's not...
Yeah, it's not going to really teach you how to do anything.
Yes. And you don't, like, again, like, it's
you don't know your times tables, is what you're telling me.
And, like...
You might not know that times tables exist. You might not be able to count to 100. I don't fucking know.
Even studying, like, shells, like, there are things about shells you need to know that wouldn't be in an encyclopedia. Like, they just...
Well, I mean, if there's anything that you need to know about shells, she knows them.
Sure.
She's collected shells all over the world.
I don't fucking get it. Also, again, like, who are you selling these shells to?
Right, she doesn't have a... I mean, she does have a boat.
On the side of the
she has a boat, but it's like a rowboat.
Yeah.
And she is just collecting... When James Bond stumbles upon her, she's just collecting shells in, I don't know, ankle-deep water
Yeah.
on the shoreline of a beach.
Yeah.
Like, lady, you're not doing anything that a kid going to a beach isn't going to do.
Well,
like, if
again-
you were deep-sea diving and you were getting these giant clams, you're like, oh, these are only 100 feet
Yeah.
deep at the bottom of they're like benthos of the ocean floor, I'd say, fine.
Cool.
You're just getting beachside seashells and selling them to people who live in beach towns. No one in Miami is going to buy a motherfucking
shell.
seashell. They
Again-
can just go to the beach in Miami.
Also, she literally risks her life to go to this island to
Yeah,
collect
she's
the
like,
seashells.
oh yeah, it's
Like,
radioactive and privately owned, and they shoot at
they
people.
shoot at me.
Yeah, from time to time they do shoot at me, but I just come and go under the cover of night. It's like,
I'm
what?
really fast. They can't catch me, so I think they've stopped trying. Like,
Yeah,
bitch,
for seashells.
for seashells. Like,
Also-
go anywhere else, or just
Right.
like find seashells on any other island
Seriously.
except for this one bad island.
Go elsewhere. Lady,
anywhere.
there are seashells all over the sea.
Yeah, like I'm
They're
sure it's like, oh,
in the sea.
this island is probably untouched by people collecting seashells. Sure,
But yeah,
but
go,
is it worth your fucking life?
right, weigh the risks. It would be
Yeah.
like saying like, oh yeah, for a living I've been all around the world. I go wherever there are fields of grass. I go and I pick wildflowers and then I sell them to people who live 5 miles away.
Yeah.
And I go to this I trespass and crawl through barbed wire and have to
Yeah. I specifically go to the top
outsmart
of
and
the
evade
volcano.
this guy's hounds who try and eat trespassers because he has really good,
Flowers.
not great, but really good wildflowers, and there's a lot of them. So
Crazy.
it's like, bitch, there's so much wrong with what you just said.
So she sucked.
Like, I never went to school, but I watched the entire Ken Burns Vietnam documentary. Well, not the entire thing. It's a 10-volume set, and I'm all the way up to 7. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Honey Ryder was an idiot.
Blue. Also, yeah, the like again, I was introduced to this James Bond world from Austin Powers. That's how I was.
Yeah.
So, and like I remember like what was her name? Like A Lot of Vagina.
Yeah.
And I was like, my mom
Yep.
was always like, ew, gross. This is such a dirty movie. And then I was like, oh wait, James Bond really did this. Like this isn't an Austin Powers
no,
thing. This
they
is
didn't.
a James Bond thing.
Yeah, they spoof stuff that happened.
Yeah, and like I didn't realize.
Otherwise,
like,
it wouldn't be a good
no, again, and like
parody.
I again saw Austin Powers without ever seeing James Bond up until literally right now.
Yeah.
Although I had seen other James Bond movies, I didn't see like what Austin Powers was based off of.
You probably saw like Quantum of Solace or something.
Sure, yeah, I saw like the recent ones
Yeah,
with like Adele
Daniel Craig.
singing the yeah. So yeah, I
Skyfall.
yes. So yeah, they I thought it was so funny. Like they had their hazmat suits, and I was like, oh, that's why Dr. Evil wears a hazmat suit, and like that's why like Frau.
That's
like,
why it looks like that. That's
open
why it
the
looks like
gates,
a
open the
child.
gates!
That's why it looks like a child's costume of a radioactive.
Yeah,
I
like,
mean, it's
that's
like
the
they had a
thing.
fishbowl on their heads. It
Yes.
was pretty
And, like,
ridiculous.
Yeah, and all of the characters doing stupid shit. I was just kind of like, oh, this is like an interesting, weird. Like you're just doing it for comedy, but
Yeah,
no.
and he karate chopped people into unconsciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
So I have a question.
So there were a lot of things like even like the doors where it was like there were elements about this movie that were so like there would be 2 holes in a door.
Yeah.
And like it would literally not be a thing at all. It would be half a second shot.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, Austin Powers took that and made that like a big part of their movie.
Sure.
I wonder why. There were a lot of those where I was just like, that's
Just attention to detail, babe. Attention
I
to
guess.
detail.
Yeah, so
so
Austin Powers did a really good job, actually.
2 things. One
Yeah,
thing
go ahead.
that I brought up last episode but didn't actually mention it when I watched the trailer yesterday is you know how you're with all the trailers and the start of the movies you see down the barrel of a gun,
Yeah.
like this grooved barrel, and you see James Bond walking and then he turns and
Uh-huh.
just shoots off the hip. In all the ones I've seen, like the Daniel Craig ones, even like the Pierce Brosnan one, the Timothy Dalton ones, they turn really quickly and they shoot right off the hip.
Yeah.
In this one, it's presumably Sean Connery. It's kind of hard to tell who it is because he's so little and it's just a silhouette. He like jumps sideways and pulls out his gun. It's so awkward. And the start of this movie was like 5 straight minutes
Yeah,
of
that's weird.
you know the shitty iPod
iPod,
commercials
yeah.
from like 2004
With the
where it's
silhouettes.
yeah, it's just a white silhouette of a person and they're dancing
Yep.
with a colorful background.
Yep.
It was like that.
I thought that was weird.
For genuinely for like 5 minutes. It
And
was
it
an
wasn't-
entire song and then they started a different song.
I think it gets slutty as time goes on, like in terms of like the amount of movies.
Oh,
But this
yeah,
one,
yeah.
it wasn't slutty at all. It was literally just people dancing. Like again, later on, it's like the love interest or like the sexy woman does a sexy dance, if I recall correctly.
I have a question.
Maybe I was just in Austin Powers.
I have a question, and this might be revealing a little too much about.
Sure.
how much of this movie I actually took in, and my nap might be
Did you take a really long
handicapping me. No, it was like so this movie was an hour and 48 minutes or whatever. I would say from an hour and 25 to an hour 35 or so. I was kind of fading in and out. Here's my question: were you following the plot of this movie? Could you describe from top to bottom the plot of this movie? Like you understood.
I agree.
So
I found it a little bit difficult.
This movie was called Dr. No.
Yeah.
The villain, obviously, spoiler alert, Dr. No.
Yeah.
And James Bond. So the movie starts. There's a radio dispatch, a woman at a radio dispatch signaling, I think, MI6, someone in England, and a doctor that she's presumably with, or like she's a spy, someone gets murdered, and then the woman gets murdered in the span of 60 seconds or so, and they get like their bodies get taken, and then MI6 is like, oh, we lost communication with Jamaica. And then James Bond gets sent to Jamaica to try and investigate what happened, and then he teams up with a CIA agent, and they try and uncover this, whatever the fuck has happened. What happened to this guy? He was kidnapped, he was murdered. What happened to, these people who were, going to this island and whatever. And then he finds Dr. No. Mm-hmm. Why was Dr. No doing all this stuff? What
He's
was
just a fucker.
Well, no, that's definitely not it.
He didn't.
I thought that he stole like a diamond or something. I'm gonna look it up because I'm.
I'll tell you. So Dr. No, he was saying, like, he made this whole thing about how he was like his mom was Chinese or something, and then James Bond made some weird.
Hong Kong.
James Bond made some weird racist comment about
Singapore,
like you should never trust anyone that's not fully Chinese or some weird shit. I was just like, what?
Never trust a Chinaman.
No, he was like, never trust someone that's not fully Chinese. It's like, okay.
How yellow is your blood?
And
Christ, Connery, that was just an ad-lib.
I understood why Dr. No like kidnapped James Bond, but I didn't understand why he was doing. I think he was just like, my hands. People rejected me because my hands are stupid.
Yeah. He had these robotic hands. Okay, so
wait, let me just try so that I can see if I'm right. But basically, he was like, oh, they like all of the people in my homeland, I guess, or whatever, said that I am not worth it because blah blah blah. He stole something from that group. Like I don't think it was a diamond, but he stole $1 million worth of gold in gold blocks. I thought it was gold, yeah. And then he brought them, and then that's how he funded this operation. And I think he literally just wanted to do this to prove to his people that he was a cool guy and he could still do shit. Just
an inferiority complex. All right.
Yeah, and when he had a painting of Napoleon in his room.
Yeah, he thought he was God or something. I'm going to read this off. John Strangways, the British MI6 station chief in Jamaica, and his secretary Mary Trueblood are ambushed and killed by a trio of assassins called the Three Blind Mice. They steal documents. The assassins steal documents related to Crab Key and Dr. No. Crab Key is an island. So, in response, M, the head of MI6, instructs Agent James Bond to investigate Strangways' disappearance and to determine whether it is related to his cooperation with the CIA on a case involving the disruption of a rocket launch from Cape Canaveral by radio jamming. On his arrival, James Bond is picked up by a chauffeur claiming to have been sent to him by the government house. He determines him to be an enemy agent, beats him in a fight. The chauffeur kills himself with a cyanide capsule hidden in a cigarette.
Everything that was in the plot, like sometimes like the plot would just keep going and I was just like, wait, what? And then like immediately in the next scene it would like explain it and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So I don't think that the plot was hard to follow at all. Like I think I could recite this to you.
At Strangways' house, Bond sees a photograph of a boatman. Bond locates the boatman named Quarrel, who he recognizes as a driver of a car that followed him. He overpowers Quarrel and his friend Pussfeller, and they meet the CIA agent Felix, who's on the same mission as Bond. They trace the radio jamming signals to Jamaica, but don't know where precisely. He was helping Strangway collect mineral samples, Quarrel was, and he mentions that Dr. No owns Crab Key, an island rigorously protected against trespassers. Strangways' house, Bond finds a receipt from Professor R.J. Dent concerning rock samples. He visits Dent.
Where did he find the receipt?
In Strangways' house.
Who's
missing Strangway?
The guy who's missing. That was the thing he found in the book.
Yeah.
Don't shush me. Stop it.
He mentions blah, 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 blah. So Dent says that he assessed the samples and that they were just ordinary rocks. And then Dent goes to visit Dr. No, who's like, you gotta kill Bond. Here's a tarantula. And that doesn't work. Using a Geiger counter, Bond detects radioactive traces in Quarrel's boat. Convinces Quarrel to take him to Crab Key. He meets Honey Ryder. This mentions that she's dressed only in a white bikini, which is definitely not paramount relevant to the plot.
Just why are you?
I'm reading it.
I know, you never read plots of movies.
Ryder leads Bond and Quarrel inland to an open swamp contaminated by radiation. Maybe that's why it was blue. They are tracked by the dragon.
I'm telling you, they fucking died it.
They're tracked by the Dragon of Crab Key, which is in reality a flamethrowing equipped tank.
Which was very obvious.
Yeah,
and she straight up thought it was an actual dragon.
Like, if that's not a dragon, what is it? It's like, what?
Which is a tank.
It's a flamethrower. It's on wheels.
Yeah, it's a car and
in the
fire.
resulting battle, Quarrel is incinerated and killed, which came out of fucking nowhere. He'd been in the movie for like an hour, and then he just burst into flames, and then he's just gone.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird. And
then Bond and Ryder kidnapped and decontaminated in Dr. No's lair and rendered unconscious. Okay, here's the part that I kind of missed. Upon waking, they are escorted to dine with Dr. No, a Chinese-German criminal scientist who has prosthetic metal hands due to radiation exposure. He reveals that he is the former member of a Chinese crime Tong, from whom he stole $10 million in gold and is now an operative of Spectre, Special Executive and Counterintelligence Terrorism, Revenge, and Extortion. Revenge is part of their mission statement. After being rejected by both the Americans and the Soviets, he plans to disrupt Project Mercury's space launch from Cape Canaveral. With his radio beam, he tries to recruit Bond into Spectre, but fails. After dinner, Ryder is taken away and Bond is beaten by the guards. Bond is imprisoned in a holding cell, but escapes by crawling through a gigantic air vent.
You were back for that.
Which is heated and then flooded. Which I don't know how you flood an air vent, like, without...
It wasn't even flooded. Like, I specifically said what would have happened if it had flooded, but the water just went through it.
Yeah, but, I mean, it was flooded. But how much... Don't air vents, by design, have holes in them for air to get in and out? Like, how does the water not go out of those?
Yeah, I thought it was weird that the water only went
straight.
It didn't go out into
if it's just an air vent, how do you have the mechanism by which to put thousands of gallons of water into it?
Nope,
but also, how does the water not immediately just... Whatever.
Yep.
Disguising himself as a worker, Bond finds his way to Dr. No's control center, which contains a nuclear pool reactor. As the American rocket lifts off, Bond overloads the reactor and knocks Dr. No into the reactor pool, killing him, as the scientist is unable to climb out due to his metal hands.
That was a very, very adorable scene. He was just trying to grab the pole and he just couldn't.
Little peaches. Bond finds and frees Ryder, and the two escape the island in a boat, and then they basically just fuck in the boat.
While people lost.
Right, so, okay, that, I think I knew all that. I still am not sure. There were some elements of this movie that I didn't really follow. Why was Dr. No doing any of this? I still don't...
He was pissed because
I know. You're saying that, but to me that doesn't make sense.
Well, rewatch that scene, because I'm telling you I'm right.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it doesn't make sense in the movie.
He's motivated by vengeance and vengeance alone.
I know, but that's so stupid. They made fun of your hands, so now you're going to try and become an international terrorist, and you rob a crime family of $10 million.
He was already a part of a crime family, though. Like, he needs to be doing crime. That's it.
I just don't.
Like, he needs to be doing a crime at some capacity. He was kicked out of his own crime place, and now he's starting his own. Like, that's just... Like, these villains don't... You don't really need a reason. As someone who is also evil... You don't need a reason to be evil. You just are.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a scene at the beginning of the movie that, in reflecting on it at the time, I thought this too, must have been paid for by a gun company, because they said they made like a 3-minute scene of James Bond. And again, this is the first James Bond film. It's not like anyone really knows James Bond very well. And it's not like, you can't just have him start with whatever the gun was. Let's say it's a Smith & Wesson. I don't think it was, but let's say it was. He had a Beretta to start, and then the head of MI6, I think, said, Bond, about that Beretta you carry around, good light in a woman's handbag. What you need is a real man's gun. Have the Smith & Wesson. Like, why don't you just start with him having the Smith & Wesson? Why don't you just say, like, here, James, here's a Smith & Wesson. Why does this? So it must have been paid for by whatever fucking gun company it was. Because it was just such a weird scene. And then I was like, okay, this was like the first 10 minutes of the movie. Obviously foreshadowing. Something's going to happen where he's like, thank God I had the or whatever. He still has a never comes back. And I think he gets his gun taken from him a few times. He doesn't use his gun very much.
No.
He mostly just punches people and flips them like a judoka. And then occasionally he kicks one or two people into a vat of acid or whatever, radioactive waste. So he doesn't, it's never relevant, really.
Sure.
So that was so strange to me. Especially for, like, if you're giving him a weird gadget, I say, okay, but it's just a gun. It's just a gun.
Maybe it was, like, they also, dropped a couple, like, a Dom Perignon 55 or something.
Yeah, it's like, I prefer the 53.
Yeah, there was a bunch of weird name dropping that I think they were just trying to, maybe it was just to elevate them, and maybe that was just, like, an expensive gun, and they were like, We only have
Right,
the most
but
expensive
so
guns.
then give him that gun instead of being like, your Beretta sucks, Bond. You're not allowed to
Sure.
use it. And he's like, please? And I'm like, no. And then he tries to take it. He's like, leave it. So that was so weird. It's
Yeah.
like, just give him the... But anyway.
I don't know enough about guns to, like, really be able to make an opinion about that. Because to me, it's just like, okay, sure. This gun is bad, this gun is good.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying don't have him start with a bad gun.
Yeah,
Why would James Bond be using a bad gun to begin with?
I don't know.
He's James Bond.
Again, I think it's just like...
It makes him look stupid for having to be forced to take this good gun.
I disagree. I feel like it makes him, like, now he's elevated and they're, you know...
But okay, but using that, like, if you said, like, if this was like the third movie and now you're like, oh, he's getting a better gun, now shit's about to go down.
Sure.
Like, he killed 2 people in the last movie and 3 people in the movie
Yeah.
before that. Now he's gonna kill 30. Like, this is like Rambo First
Well, again,
Blood.
it's just
Like, the
showing
gloves
you-
are fucking off. But this was like 8 minutes into the movie.
No, I think it's...
You can't start with him taking the gloves off.
No, I think you can. I think a lot of...
But then there's nowhere to go from there. You make 30 other James Bond movies, you've already started with him having the gloves off. What, are you gonna take off his hands? Like Dr. No?
No, I didn't have a problem with it.
I disagree. Do you have any more notes?
Okay, well, first of all, let me... So, a couple of the shots are, like, really fucking long. Not a couple. Most of the shots, again, it might be the 60s, but
It's 2020.
they would, like, make a full drink in
Oh.
one shot.
It's 3:08 p.m.
I know.
Anyway,
I
go
don't
on.
know why Rob is doing these podcasts so early. I hate it. Anyway, the shots were really long. Like, they'd film, like, James Bond would, like, get out of a car. Another guy would get out of a car. They would meet up together, and then the guy would say, let's enter this building. And then they would both walk in together. And that was all one shot. And I was like, this doesn't need to, like, stop. Break these shots up, or, like, don't show me all of this. Or, like, James Bond would, like, make a drink. And he would, like, you'd watch him, like, pour a drink, walk over to his chair, and sit. And that was all one shot. And I just felt like, I'm like, this isn't how long shots are supposed to be. Anyway, that was just a tiny point.
Cinema verite.
The other thing, that Asian woman...
Yep.
was not Asian. She was white.
Jessica, you cannot whitewash characters like this. It's
White.
2020, Jessica.
No,
it's not
no.
appropriate. You can't do this.
They literally gave a white woman, like really
a winged
full,
eye.
winged
shadow.
eyeliner.
Eyeliner, yeah.
And then, like, winged liquid eyeliner. And then they gave her, like, a weird, beehive hairstyle that was, like, very clearly Asian. And then when James Bond goes back to her hotel room, it was completely Asian themed. And it was very clear. And then I think she mentioned, like, I'll cook you some Asian dish.
A Chinese dinner.
Yeah. She was white. She was very clearly white.
Jessica, this is coming across really aggressive.
It was just, what the fuck were they thinking? It was so weird. It was so weird. It's coming off as aggressive because they were being racist, and I didn't like that.
I don't know. They gave screen time and a job opportunity to an Asian American woman.
They didn't.
So
They gave
British,
an Asian's
Asian
job
British
to
woman.
a white woman.
I don't know.
And then, yeah, that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I like how they did mixed not stirred and then shaken not stirred. I was just like, I'm confused as to what the tagline for James Bond is. I know it's shaken not stirred.
James
but...
Bond's tagline is "My dick definitely works." 007 inches, bullshit. Don't call me that.
But yeah, those I think were... I'm trying to think of what else. So you didn't like the gun thing.
Yeah.
You didn't like the woman.
Would you
Honey Pot.
recommend Honey Ryder? It was so fucking stupid. I didn't.
And she was introduced so late into the movie too. I thought that was weird.
She didn't come in. She wasn't really. And also, it's not like she was the love interest. It's like James Bond at minute 4 in this movie fucks a lady.
Yeah.
And then goes to Jamaica and
Who
fucks
just
another
shows
lady.
up at his house.
Yeah, really weird.
too.
And then goes to Jamaica and at like minute 40 fucks a lady and then meets Honey Ryder like an hour and 10 minutes in this movie and then fucks her towards the end. It's like, okay, why? I don't care about her.
His sluttiness.
Like, he just fucks everyone. She's not special.
Yeah, his sluttiness wasn't cute, and you're right.
Like,
there
she
was
said no
leading
for
lady.
half an hour as opposed to all the other women who fucked him immediately, but so what?
Although it was weird. They didn't have any sexual tension or whatever. Like it was kind of
not at all.
I think it was more like, oh, we actually got to know each other and we like fell in love. But like
I
I know
didn't
James
that.
Bond isn't, he doesn't care about falling in love. Like this wasn't. Anyway,
Honey Ryder was so stupid that it took me out of. But anyway, would you recommend
Yeah.
this movie? Is what I would ask you.
no.
No, all right, that's fair enough.
Again, if you had said like,
Slam.
if I was older, maybe like, and I remembered what it was like to watch movies.
49.
Like maybe my dad could be able to say like, oh, I was alive in the 60s, so I know what it's like to watch a movie from the 60s.
Your dad was born the year this movie came out, though.
I know, but like I was born
So
the
this
year
might be
The
a-
Lion King came out, and that was a movie I saw as a child.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, Austin Powers
all right.
was one of my earliest movies that I'd seen.
I guess that's fine.
So yeah, like, my dad would have definitely he would have grown up watching movies from the 60s. So maybe someone like my dad would appreciate this more, but for me, it was just like, this is too old. My culture is too different. I think a lot of the choices they made were really bad. It did not age well. I've seen the new Bond movies and I like them a lot better.
Did you notice that all of Honey Ryder, I think it was Honey Ryder, did you notice that all of her lines were dubbed over?
No.
No.
Why?
Let me look it up.
I did notice that a bunch of lines were dubbed over. Like, there were a couple of workers that would say something and their lips would be moving and it would... Why would she have been dubbed over?
That is a good question. Let's see.
I didn't notice that at all.
Ursula Andress as Honey Ryder, a local shell diver making a living by selling Jamaican seashells to dealers in Miami. Andress's spoken dialogue was dubbed by Nikki van der Ziel, and her singing voice was dubbed by Diana Copeland. Both were uncredited.
That singing scene was really weird.
So you don't know what Ursula Andress sounds like.
Does it say why?
It does not. Somewhere down here.
Literally, what the fuck?
Someone down here. She later starred as Vesper Lind in the 1967 James Bond parody Casino Royale.
Weird.
Which is funny because that is actually... I think that was... First of all, it was a movie in 2006.
That was a real James Bond.
I think that was the first Daniel Craig movie, was Casino Royale.
Yeah, I like that one.
And I think Casino Royale was actually the first James Bond book.
Huh.
So this parody got to it before the films
Why
did
would she
by
have been in a
40
parody?
years. I don't know. They didn't bring her back, and she just had to act. She was famous from Bond, and they didn't want her in another Bond movie because they
Used
have
her already?
they have a different woman every time. I would think. I don't know. This doesn't say,
That
or if it
strikes
does,
me
I'm
as very
not seeing it.
strange.
Yeah, she's from Ostermundigen, Switzerland. So maybe she sounded like this, and they had to
That's really weird.
dub it over. But anyway, all right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Little tidbit of movie trivia. Fun little fact for you: if bees were paid minimum wage, a jar of honey would cost $200,000. So.
What?
Yeah, how about that?
How long does it take bees to make honey?
I don't know, but it takes
how you're
a lot
calculating
of
it?
them. So
Oh.
I think in theory the man hours would be substantial. Anyway, it's just something I read. That might not even be true. It's just something that I read.
That's
That
interesting,
seems
but
close.
I feel like also, like, you don't need that many bees to make that much honey.
I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd be surprised.
That's a fun little Snapple fact. Thank you.
It's a Snapple fact that, like other Snapple facts, might be
Might
complete
not be
bullshit.
true.
So we'll maybe issue a corrections corner. Until then, see you later, pod racers.
Bye.